You're listening to the Roofing Success Podcast, a show created to inspire roofing contractors to achieve optimal success in their roofing businesses. I'm the host, Jim Moline, the co-author of the book, Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors, How to Triple Your Sales and Turn Your Roofing Website into an Online Lead Generation Machine. I'm also the co-founder of Roofer Marketers, the digital marketing agency for the roofing industry. On each episode, I'll be sitting down with industry leaders to talk about their processes, the lessons they've learned, and how to find success in roofing. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. As always, please share, please subscribe, please comment on our content. It helps to get the content out to more and more people. Today we have another successful contractor. Really excited to talk to him. He just an amazing story and an amazing growth story in a lot of ways, right? So today we have Garen Armstrong of Shamrock Roofing, and I would say out of Kansas City, but you guys are far beyond Kansas City right now. How's it going, man? How are you today?
Doing great, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So, for people who don't know you or haven't heard about you in the industry, tell us a little about how you got into roofing, and then we could talk about, more about Shamrock and how that's grown through the years.
Sure. So my father started Shamrock in 1977, and it was a small construction firm. And then after he passed away in 2016, I had pretty much, my mom asked me, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I'm going to take it over, and I'm going to take it to the moon. I'm going to grow it. And so, and that's what I've done. And then shortly after, so then in 2016, I took it over, started building it. And at that point, it was me really focusing on the insurance restoration process. We do retail, a lot of retail work as well. And that's what I grew up doing is retail work. Didn't quite, back then insurance work was, really, it wasn't like it is today. In the 80s and 90s, it was completely different. And then so, swinging a hammer, working construction, doing that with my father, that's something you grow up, you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm breaking my back. What am I, I don't do this for life. I want to sit behind a desk type thing. And so, I've done that. And so that's how I got to get an experience in internet marketing. And so we did that for a while. And then after then I got back into the construction, but more of a construction management aspect. And that's when I really learned the insurance restoration part of the side of things, because that had evolved significantly. And so, living in the Midwest, we always get storms. I mean, we live in Tornado Alley. We have, hail all the time. So it just really, it was meant to be. It just made sense. And so I had, at that point, we started growing with me and three guys. And then at that point, we were doing around 3 to 5 million a year, and which is good, not great. And then I had gotten sick. I was working this fire claim at this hotel, and was breathing in this, being there all the time, doing estimates for this hotel. I had gotten a sinus infection, and it had went into my heart and made my heart started swelling up, and because your body wants to heal itself. And so the heart could after it got so swollen, I didn't know what was going on with me. This is kind of after the fact. The doctor said, where I went to the hospital, they said code blue. And they took me in surgery, went down my neck, groin, and said, your heart is swollen and you're going to die. And so they cut the apex off my heart, sewed this pump in me. And then I had these batteries that would just, it had a blood flow. I didn't have a blood pump. I didn't have a heartbeat. And so I lived off these batteries. And so, I went from, close to 200 pounds to 150 pounds. I lost so much weight, and I was basically, just in the hospital a lot, living off batteries. And then at that point, the team had really started taking over. Also, we had, I'd been doing some business with Kim Reed, and then she heard about it. And so then Paul Reed came to the office, and then Anthony Domenico came and really just came to help out. And so it's like the whole brotherhood helped out the organization. And I was so skinny, I looked like Skeletor, looking back on everything, and just living off batteries. And but I was alive, and so I was still here. And so they came in, and Anthony offered up this training, this SVGU, and it had really helped the guys and the training and our processes, and what we were doing, and bringing in the accounts receivable, accounts payable right off the bat to help the back office. And so that was a significant milestone in helping change the things, because when I did get back and that was implementing the training, and we was growing with that, I would still get out, and I would go on, knock doors. I would go get on roofs, and they're seeing me lead from the trenches on batteries. I mean, I think it's like a Guinness World Record thing. I don't think anybody,
Wow.
I had the doctors literally were telling me, like, Garen, you quit. Like, you got to stop. You're meant to go sit in a recliner. Like, go do that. Like, can I sit in my truck and recline there? And so the guys see me do that, and they're like, man, if Garen's out there doing this, living on batteries, there's no excuse for me. And so that it drove them a lot. They love seeing that. And so, and I love leading from the trenches. I know the back office is so super important in what they do, and dealing with the insurance audits, dealing with everything that happens on a regular basis. That's so important. But equally as important is that the tip of the spear, your project managers, and knowing that I got their back, and knowing that I'm there to help them. I mean, even though we're doing 2,000 roofs a year, you got to focus on one roof at a time, one homeowner at a time, and really just get it back to basics, because it's awesome. I've been nominated for Contractor Growth of the Year from 2 different organizations, Roofing Contractor Magazine and Storm Ventures Group. So I've doubled year over year over year for the last 4 years since that happened. And I got to give credit to the team, because while I was in the hospital, they've locked arms in unity and was able to move forward, and it built their confidence, because I was gone in 4 weeks at a time, 6 weeks at a time, but I'm back, and I was still available for them to ask questions and call, so it built their confidence over time. So, now I've had a heart transplant. I'm 5 months out of a heart transplant, and, I'm back in the saddle, and it's, and I really, like, I come in here and they're like, Garen, what are you doing here? Stay out of my lane. I got this. And so I'm like, awesome. So I stay out of their lane, and I sit back and I watch it, and I love it, because even though that we're in the roofing business, we're in the people business, and I like watching them grow. And, that's why I say, come to me, with their PhD, poor, hungry, and driven, and we will help you to that next level. And I see these guys making, $200,000 a year as project managers. There's some guys that are just happy at $75,000. They're comfortable, and that's really all they want to make. And it's a lifestyle business. So that's cool. But, and I'm glad I can help them and provide a platform for them to do that. But for the guys that want to take it to the next level, I really admire that, and I support them. And we really just grow from within. So we really, I think it's the culture that has been started, and I mean, it could out survive me. So it's awesome.
That's awesome, man. I want to take you back a little bit to that conversation you had with your mom, and mom said, "Hey, what do you want to do?" You said, "I want to take it to the moon." Right? That's what you said?
Yes, that's what I said.
So what did you think then at that time? This is before you had your heart condition and things like that. This is before all of this happened. At that time, in your mind, what was the action plan to take it to the moon? And then what, I mean, things changed, especially with health issues, right? But what did you learn beyond that, what you thought it was going to be like to what it actually has been like?
Right. Well, relativity is a real thing. And so taking it to the moon, when I actually said that to my mom, that was like the growth from what it was like from, you know what I mean? So,
what was that goal?
$250,000 a year, right?
Where was the moon? Where was the moon at that time?
Yeah. At the moon, $1 million had been at the moon from what it was, right? So to where it is now. So I thought, I can do that. And we did do that when we crushed that number. So that was a relative moonshot, right? And then I guess we overshot the moon significantly on that one. Because at that point I was like, we can grow it and I'll keep it a small group of guys but just kind of be able to have super control over it, right? And so, I still had my contractor book and I wrote checks and had super oversight on everything and, tight grip on everything.
Yeah.
And then we're starting growing and, we had our bi-weekly meetings with the accountant and, our back office, the AR and AP, and they're like, Garen, you got to stop, relinquish the book, relinquish the checkbook, let Amy print the checks, like we've got this. That's what, and I'm like, well, that finally happened, but it took a long period of time. So
yes, that's a lesson, right? That's one of those lessons along the way.
Right.
If you're gonna build a business, you're gonna need the team.
Right. And relying on them
on them. Yeah.
And that was a big lesson. And, when I'm laying in the hospital, hooked up to everything down my neck and living off, basically life support, you are definitely relying on them. And to touch on something real quick, we talk about, to where I am now, going to 30 million a year, and we're expanding in 3 more markets right now. But you talk about like living a legacy, and I watched a conversation with you and the coach, and we talked about what is living a legacy and will people remember me in 200 years. And I after laying on my deathbed, and so I spent a whole year in succession planning, right? And I learned more about my business and moved forward on succession planning and building a business without me in it, right? Because I'm dead and gone. I'm preparing my burial. I'm preparing the business and all the things that are in there that are the nuances, the intricacies that happen and make everything go from building backwards. And there's a lot of things because I'm responsible for close to probably 1,000 people's lives to support their families and support them. And you think about that and you want their livelihoods to continue. And my key employees, they came here, Garen, what happens if you die? And I said, well, everything's in place. Everything stays the same. And it's just someone else will be signing the checks. And so we had built it to where it's that way. So, when it's leaving a legacy, I don't think it's meaning to say here in 200 years, they're going to, be thinking of me, but it's going to say, but we built something that's bigger than me and it's going to last and it's going to be able to still support these 1,000 people that rely on me. And so I think that's, I think that's what it means,
Yeah. And that, and man, that, near death experience had, people that go through cancer or things like this, they talk about how you look at life differently, right? And so but the succession planning, that's something that most people don't have to go through, right? They just don't think about that. What steps of that process do you think would be beneficial just to the to every contractor out there, what would be the, whether they're a $2 million company or a $15 million company, wherever they're at, just kind of the highlights there that were those big aha moments for you when you were doing that?
I think everyone should do it, whether you're a $500,000 a year contractor
Yeah.
or 30, however, because you learn so much in that process. You learn so much. I mean, my wealth management people, they gave me a book and it's called I'm Dead, Now What? And then literally you go through this book and it has these questions and you got to fill, and that's just for your personal life, your personal livelihood stuff, let alone a business with multiple moving parts. And so going through that is like building a business plan backwards and better, because you kind of know where you're at. And I guarantee you, if you even are a $500,000 contractor and you go through that process of succession planning, like I'm dead, now what? How do I do this, grow this? That $500,000 contractor will turn into $1 million, $2 million contractor, because of the steps they process, the things they start to think about that awaken, it's kind of in your mind. And that's why they call it awake. It wakes you up. And so it does, it wakes you up, and it really makes you think about a lot of things and processes that are happening that you don't think that are happening.
Yeah. So what were say 2 or 3 of those that stood out the most to you, and you're like, oh, these are the first ones we had to get in place, or something like that?
Well, okay. So being able to duplicate several areas that I was doing, right?
Yep.
And so right off the bat, it was, you need to train this whatever person, this little segment of what you're doing. You need to train this other person on this segment of what you're doing. So it was adding to the plates of multiple different, people, really delegating. And I think I do a good job delegating, but I wasn't, I could have added more to their plates, a little bit more to their plates.
Okay.
And trust them more to do it. Like, you hired them in the first place to trust them. So trust them and delegate that out to be done. And so I think that was probably one of the biggest things, that I gleaned from it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. There's a lot of things that, especially as you're growing, when you're that $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, even $5 million a year company, that those things are in your head, right? A lot of this stuff is in the owner's head, and as you're growing, you got to start moving that out of your head into other people's heads, right? And so, one of the things that happened that, when that was, I don't know how it was very impactful for you, is that you had no option to let the team take over at a certain point, right?
Right.
Speak to that a little bit in comparison to, all of a sudden it was like, hey, the team has to take over.
Right. I mean, to be honest, it was a total God thing. It was a total God thing. And there's no other way to explain it. I mean, it went from me meeting with the accountants to not even relinquish my checkbook and being very controlling over everything to make sure everything was done and the homeowners are happy and all that stuff, to, okay, I got to relinquish the checkbook, to, holy smokes, I'm dying, and how's this going to happen? And so it was a total wake up call to me, about life, how I was living, about everything. And so, I really got to dig in and reflect on my life and this. And so, I was able to, I had no choice but to trust the team. And it was a blessing, because in that time, your team, half your team was like, oh, leader's gone. And some of them took off, and then half of them stepped up. And then some of them just kind of like lingered around, not knowing, looking around. But the people who stepped up, I mean, they showed their true colors. And right then I seen who was going to be the leaders in the organization. And once they stepped up, then we really had something, and the culture really took off, and it was built around that.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah,
that's interesting. There were people that were, oh man, Garen's not, he's not going to make it out of this. Like I got to find a new job, right?
correct.
That was some people's first reaction. And
Yeah.
then other people's first reaction was, well, let's help him out. Let's continue this. Let's build this. Let's take over his responsibilities and get it through this for himself, for his family. And that, and I can imagine like the feeling that you get from seeing that, like that out of people.
Yes,
Right.
it was really rewarding, and it gives me goosebumps
Yeah.
to think about it still, and how proud I am at that point of being able to say that, hey, we built this team of people of that caliber. And I think that was also the next thing that gave me the trust in them to say,
Mhm.
I trust you. Here's the checkbook. Here's
Yeah.
the roles. Here's everything.
So not everyone is going to be able to have that tipping point, right? Where they where it's like trust the team or not. What are some of the things that you think you can look for in the people who can become those leaders in your company?
You know, in hiring, the recruiting, it's hard to tell at first.
Yeah.
And we don't. And so that's why we recruit from within. And after we see the people that are here that step up to occasions, and we try to get away of having super detailed job titles, because then people, but because we don't want to have any, oh, that ain't my job type
Yeah.
mentality. The utility players, essentially everybody is. And so, but we see the people who then step up and go above and beyond, and those are the people we see that are leaders, and then we elevate them quickly, because once they have that leadership ability, then we can easily train them to what it is that we're wanting to do.
Exactly. Or are there things that you look for? Like, wow, Sally over there, she's really doing extra. Because like you said, you don't have the job titles for that specific thing, right? Or so you're kind of letting, I'm just not speaking for you, but just like I'm trying to, get to into more detail. What, like, you're just watching what they're doing, and the people who do more than what they're asked, maybe, is that something that you look
Yeah,
for? What other types of
that's
things?
definitely to look for. I mean,
Yeah.
because we have blind spots, and so when you don't see these blind spots, and someone else goes and they see those blind spots, and they go pick the ball up in that area
Yeah.
and run with it, then that's what I'm looking for. Not
Yep.
only to do a little extra, they're looking at the whole overall overarching business from a macro level. Say, hey, this is something that needs to be done, and they pick up and they fill in that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's a big deal to have that. And that's, like you said, the culture has been created that way. And really it was probably built out of the few people that stepped up during your, that critical time of your life.
Yeah.
And those are the people that, that's the culture now, as you mentioned. Like, it's that type of culture. The culture is step up,
Yep. And they
help out.
step up. And so then
Yeah.
what I do at that point is, once their plate's so busy, then I basically hire them an assistant.
Yes.
That's for now. And then as they're trained, and then basically they're in that department, and
Yep.
so now I have four people in the accounts receivable, accounts payable department. We have, multiple people in
Okay.
marketing, and multiple people in, five people in production. And
Yeah.
yeah, so it's grown by that. And then as they come up, also leaders in different markets, as we expand in different markets, we identify, leaders in that market, we step them up and bring them up, and then they're running that market.
So let's walk through that a little bit. Opening a new market, right? What do you look for in a new market first?
So we're in the Midwest, and what we've done was we identified, basically via heat maps and markets, where we're going to go next, right?
Yep.
So we're in Kansas City. What we've traditionally done was keep all markets all 3.5 hours away, so that they're easy to get to, easy to get back. So Omaha was the first one we opened up. And we went there, opened an office. All of our locations are brick and mortar buildings, and we're built there to stay. What we usually do before we go into a market is we already start internet marketing right then. We start marketing that area probably about a year before. We start just letting that marinate, start
Okay.
putting everything out there, letting the Google bots do their thing. And,
Yeah.
so we start marketing. And then after about a year, maybe we wait 9 months, but after that, about that time, 9 months to a year, we get the building, and then we're starting to hire. So we send our business development from here, him and his assistant, and they go into an office, and then we start recruiting. And we traditionally, preferably, like green beans, like new people that haven't been in the industry at all. And then we train them so that we can train them on the process, our systems, everything. So that, and then at that point, what we like to do, and I don't want to skip ahead too fast, but at that point, what we like to do is then get a field trainer or slash manager from that area. So since we're talking about Omaha, we've got a manager in Omaha who then, will hire a team of, about 10 people is what we like to get in each market. And then their training, and then my business developer, he'll stay out there for, a good 6 months, making sure that manager understands the process. And plus, since we're only 3 hours away, he's coming to Kansas City, coming to the headquarters, and being able to see our process and meet everybody in the back office who he's on there. Because we use AccuLinks, it's CRM in the cloud, it's scalable, so we can expand with that. And so that people can work from their phones in their trucks. I mean, since there's no roofs in the office to be able to sell, they need to be out there anyway. So that's how we do it. So it's train the trainer, and then we do that, and then hire them, and then we groom them, and then once they're an identical image of our office here, but with guys from Omaha there.
Yeah.
Then that's how we open an office.
That's interesting. And so with the sales trainer that you hire in the area, sales manager that you hire there, do you look for someone with experience in the industry there, or keep them have them a green bean too?
We've done both.
Okay.
Usually in their background, they've got some sort of a leadership position. A lot of these were entrepreneurs already. Like, for example, the one in Omaha, he was previously a builder.
Okay.
And he had a vast understanding of the industry, of the building industry, not so much the insurance industry, but he learned that. So, but again, we do insurance and retail as well.
Yep. Yep.
So, and residential and commercial. So he was able to lead already. He's a solid guy, balanced. He's a God-fearing man with the family. So that's what I look for.
Yep.
Somebody stable, somebody who's trustworthy, somebody who's a leader, somebody who's willing to lead from the trenches, and that's what I look for.
And then you keep all the back office stuff in headquarters.
Yes.
Nice. Because that's scalable from headquarters, right? That's awesome. That's great, man. That's great advice for people, and it's something that a lot of times, people go into other markets. Where I see a lot of contractors going into other markets is they end up there. A storm hits, and they end up there, but it's not built with purpose, and so it doesn't work out as well. Right. A lot of times I see that happen, and, having to pull back because they didn't have a process of building that additional location. Keeping it close enough to headquarters is another thing, going across country, if you're in Florida and Denver and Dallas and all, now all of a sudden that poses different challenges, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we can handle the logistics of shingle shortages. So when we were in Des Moines, we had set up Des Moines, and then El Dorencho came through. the shingle shortage was a real thing. You had contractors come up from everywhere there, but because we were there, because we had our manufacturers already, a lot of people weren't able to get material. We were still able to get material. We were still able to get put on roofs. A lot of people are still, scheduled out into this year. We are keeping on roofing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
A lot of advantages to that for sure. That's other great ideas. What about, you mentioned a little bit earlier, there's been this evolution in the storm restoration industry, right? It's a much different thing than it was when your father had the company.
Right.
What are some of the things that you could speak to that in that evolution? What are some of the things that stand out to you there?
Well, I mean, technology is a real thing, and that I think is probably the number one deal that helps speed up that process. I mean, the advent of hail maps, the advent of Exactimate, the advent, so those two things in and of it, sky measures, has been, I think, moved it a lot forward. And so, whether we have more storms now than we did, I don't know, but I do know that it is increasing every year, from 100 to $300 billion industry. So it seems like we're having more storms, but I think, Derek Klein is a friend, and I talked to him and he's like, Garen, no, the storms have been the same. And it's just that you're able to see them more because they're mapped more now. And so,
technology it does that. We get to see a lot more, right? And a lot in so many things. It's that's the same thing. With all of this, the technology is great. And you started, before, when you left the family business, and you went into internet marketing. So, got to see some of the technological advances in Google during that time frame, right?
Yeah. So that started with the Warrior Forum before e-commerce was even around. You had to write their check, mail it to the Warrior Forum, and you're on there and you're learning, marketing from that level. Yeah.
We were talking about that. I was on there back in the, mid 2000s, early mid 2000s, all over the Warrior Forum.
Yeah.
And doing a lot of internet marketing stuff through there too.
Yeah. That has been an evolution in and of itself. And so, when that happened, building the website, I did that myself. I did the back internet marketing, everything, and setting up all the keywords and the campaigns and all of that good stuff. Using keyword tools and what's your competition doing? In this market, who is my competition online? And it's interesting to find out and go from there. So so that's a unique a unique skill set to bring into a roofing company, right? And so so contractors are definitely behind the curve on a lot of digital marketing things. I think that it's starting to catch up, right? There's starting to catch up for sure. But so you had said, like, when you go into a market and you'll launch this, some of the marketing methods prior to getting it, like a year before you go there. Yes.
Because it takes some time, right? A lot of time, right? So SEO takes a little bit of time to build up.
Right.
So you're planting the seed, you're going to go there later, but you're going to go there when it's starting to bear fruit.
Correct.
Right? That's a different mindset.
Yes, it's you're farming, you're planting the seed, and then this, I guess, this is for the roofing contractors that are out there that want to go to digital agencies and then want to see immediate results right away. Don't get mad at your agency. Don't get mad at your team because you're not getting that immediate result. You're going to have to put money in, and you're going to have to wait, and you're going to have to take your time, and you're going to have to be there for the long run. You're going to have to, trust in the process.
Yeah.
And it's going to work. Because if you don't, and they invest in with you, and they don't see their response, and they pull out whatever, then they've just wasted their money. That's when they truly wasted their money, because they didn't get the results, because their expectations in their head of what are good expectations
Yep.
aren't there.
And
So
that's the organic side. And I think there a lot of people have unrealistic expectations on the organic side, right? Getting their website ranked, getting their Google Maps listing ranked, things like that. And then even if they do get ranked, say in the map section, a lot of them ignore the key component there, and that's trust.
yes, you got to get them
That's
to
your
know,
Google
like, and
review.
trust you, and that's the reviews. The reviews are critical and they're key. I was looking for an exterminator, and I'm looking for reviews, and the first
Yep.
thing, who has the most reviews, and they're hard to get. I mean, like I
Yeah.
said, we do over 2,000 roofs a year, and our reviews are not even a tenth of that. And so it's like, I feel like I'm, failing, but the guys are out there, they're working on getting the reviews, but I'm guilty of it too. I had a great experience with the Geek Squad. They came out and
Yep.
hooked my house all up, and great guys. I mean, tipping them everything, cash, and they sent a review and it's like, oh, I just didn't have time for the review, but
Yeah.
otherwise they deserve a phenomenal review. And I know, so I'm guilty of that. And, but
We all are. Yeah.
while I'm sitting here requesting reviews as well. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a funny thing, right? It's a funny thing. We all do it, but it's such an integral part of that, of your image online, having those reviews. And I mean, you have hundreds of reviews now, so you're set. But it takes time to build those up. And if someone shows up in the maps next to Shamrock, and Shamrock has 200 and something reviews, and that competitor has 10, even though that they show up next to you in the map, they're probably not going to get a phone call,
right,
so
right.
so it all goes together. And to the original point, it takes time. It takes time, right? Like, and so but you guys do a lot on the paid ad side also, right? Google ads, Facebook ads, things like that.
We do. And you got it. We try to peg that at 5% of what we are targeting for. So
5% of your gross revenue goal.
yes,
Okay.
correct.
For your total marketing budget, or just towards digital?
For the total marketing budget.
Okay.
So
Yep.
we run a lot of TV ads as well, but
Okay.
and we we give a roof away to a veteran. We're very, and for a first responder,
Cool.
and we support soccer teams, and we support baseball teams, and we do all this in the communities that we're in, and we do that not from a marketing perspective. We do that as just a helping perspective. It's kind of as how all that started, because my dad was in the military, and so I kind of wanted to do that in honor of him. And from that, there's been quite a bit of exposure, but that's really what we wanted to start that with. And we give a lot of cars away to veterans and first responders, and I was doing that. I was on the board for the last 20 years of that, and so that's just part of again ingrained in the culture. And these guys get to come and see what we do for the community. It's you can't quantify the ROI on that, and it's too difficult. But sometimes you're out in the field and you'll hear it, and they're like, go with Shamrock. They help veterans of the community. But other than the whisper, it's hard to actually digitally quantify that.
Digital has changed that, right? Has changed the way we look at ROI on your marketing spend, right? It really has. Now you can look in your Google Ads account, you could see the conversions that you receive, the cost per click,
Right.
and you could go into AccuLinks and you can cross-reference that and figure out the exact revenue that you got from those exact clicks, from those exact keywords. But there's another part to marketing that you cannot overlook, and that is just being in your community.
It's
right.
priceless.
It's priceless. And what do you guys do for, I'm sure, you got a good branding on the trucks and different things like that, and everybody's branded up at the job sites, and right.
So we have all of our trucks are wrapped,
Yep.
and definitely everyone's branded. I mean, they're almost out of uniform if they show up in not Shamrock gear.
Yeah.
They're here, they're for a purpose. And you know what? They want to represent. They want to say, hey, I work for Shamrock. I'm proud to work for Shamrock. And so, that's exciting. And, because we're on TV, because we're all over the place, they may not remember it or whatever. It's just, there, but it's like, but we're in the neighborhood, and because we knock too, we knock.
Yep.
And so like, oh, it's Shamrock. If they're knocking on my door, there must be a reason. I mean, they're not just some fly by night company. So I must have damage, or I can be able to get, there's something going on. So they know it's just not anybody, and our guys are so busy. We're not here to waste our time either. So
that's right. That's right. And that's that. Well, we refer to it, and it's omnipresence in your marketplace. It's having your perfect customer know who you are.
Yes.
Right. And so when your perfect customer knows who you are, they're the first, they're the one, you're the one that gets the phone call, or if they see you at their door, they already know you. There's a level of trust that was built already. That's different from what a lot of contractors look for in marketing. They're looking for that phone call that gets them a job today.
Right.
Instead of the big picture. And now you can't focus on that big picture, maybe when you're a $500,000 contractor, right? You don't have the ability, but I think you can start to put things in place at that time.
Yes.
Be part of the community, be part of your local church, be part of the local baseball team or soccer team, or right. You can start to build that over time. You don't have to do what you guys are doing and running commercials and, having, like the width of your marketing right now. So I kind of explain a lot of times I explain Facebook as the television of today. It's just where people's eyeballs are. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree. From a broadcast standpoint, we have a big budget, we spend on broadcast, but the ROI honestly isn't there for broadcast. And the ROI is on the Facebook. And because they've got to have a reason to look you up on Google. They don't just go to Google and say, okay, Google, show me something. They have a reason to go there. And so a lot of the times it's, okay, well, I've seen this roof. Maybe we're geo-targeting an area that a storm just hit. And so they're able to see it. And then either they click on it, or they go to Google and then they say top roofers in this area, or roofers in the, near me, or whatever the case is. And then you're popping up. So it is definitely a driver. If you can capture it right through Facebook, then great. But if not, it is the TV. They see it and they're going to Google and typing it up. And then it's
brand awareness for sure.
Yes.
That's an aspect that's overlooked. Everyone looks for the lead gen on Facebook a lot of times, or a lot, and it's understandable. You want to make your marketing dollars work for you, right? Like there's it's definitely understandable, but there's that brand awareness aspect. They see you on Facebook a bunch of times because a storm hit their area, so you're geo-targeting that area, and then maybe they search for you on Google and you show up there too, and they go, oh, they put the dots start connecting. Then they see the truck drive through the neighborhood, and then they see the sign in their neighbor's yard, and and it all builds on itself. And that's how you get to where you guys got to, man. Like, but it takes time. You guys, this was your father's business many, many years ago. How many years has Shamrock been in business?
So 43, 44 years.
Yeah.
And, really, we're just now hitting escape velocity.
That's right.
To where it's growing again without me, essentially. So, it's a God thing, and I'm kind of stewarding it. If they have a question, they'll come to me, but I'm just, keeping the speed wobble to a minimum.
There you go. So, now, so really, you started out leading from the front,
right?
But now you're leading from behind a little bit. How has that changed, and how has that changed as the growth has happened?
So I think everybody grows into a new position. It's like everyone's growing into new positions, and I'm growing into new positions. And so everyone's kind of business acumen changes. And mine now is more focused on, the insurance aspect. I mean, in terms of insurance for the business, general liability, workman's comp, keeping all of that addressed, making sure that we're adequately insured with the size of the company we are, with 55 trucks running around. Making sure, and the finance area, more of the CFO, if you will, to where you're making sure that your lines of credit with your supply houses are expanding and large enough for you, making sure your lines of credit are all good, so that you pay everybody on Friday. A lot of times our checks that we receive from the project managers, homeowners, haven't even cleared the bank yet I'm still paying them on Friday. And so I'm more of looking at forecasts and numbers and QuickBooks, dealing with the accountants and bankers, and keeping all of that moving forward. So that's more of a role that I deal with now. And in our production, I mean, they're dealing with making sure that, we have enough OSB. So we bought 4,500 sheets at the beginning of the year at, $20 a sheet, which was unheard of that time.
So
and
you're
now,
the guy that drove the prices up. I see.
and now it's like $60 a sheet.
Yeah.
But if you can get it. And so thankfully we had it. We had the forecasting to see what was going on. And believe me, when I'm like writing a check for that much money at that price, it wasn't comfortable, especially when you used to buying it for $12 a sheet. And so, but now you look back at it and you're like, well, shoot, I guess
that was a good decision. Yeah.
Yeah. And, and preparing for the shingles. And so when we got a glimpse into that, I was during El Derecho in Iowa during that storm, the shortage of shingles. We didn't have that issue, but it is a real thing. And since we've seen that issue during, the slow months, the winter months, we were just buying as many semis we could of shingles and storing them, so that when something like that happens again, we are prepared so that we can keep on roofing.
That I had a question. I did a webinar the other day, and someone had that question about with the material shortage, what do we do? And they were a smaller contractor, and I know you guys. I mean, you guys are what? GAF Master Elite, Owens Corning Platinum Preferred, Malarkey Certified, certainty. So what, do you, this is my conversation with them was that, that's an advantage there. Sometimes you may have to be, looking at other manufacturers. You may have to be, doing what you need to do to get those roofs on those houses. It sucks when someone's looking for a specific color, and it's just not available, but
you got to sell that to the homeowner and explain that, and let them know, what's available. And the manufacturers, have really cut back on a lot of luxury shingles, and just to be able to get and they cut back on a lot of different colors. So, I mean, you're really looking at weatherwood or driftwood and, and black. So, that's what, we basically stocked up on. So building the relationships with your suppliers, you're going to have a couple of backups on that, and manufacturers, and even your manufacturers will say, this year it's going to be crazy. So you better have a couple supply houses ready to go. I know you mainly use, a couple, one or two, but you need to have them ready to go. And so we do. So, the suppliers understand it, and they get it, and the manufacturers, they understand. And, so I was, talking with my Owens Corning rep. He's an awesome guy. He's like, Garen, I get it. You obviously, I want you to sell as much as you can, but, you got to do what you got to do, and I got guys up in Lincoln and Omaha. I mean, they bleed Owens Corning, but they, I'm like, guys, you're going to have to be able to sell something else, so that you can take care of your homeowners.
That's right.
Yeah.
take care to keep keep business going. And it, you know, it's tough. It's unprecedented times, right? But what you guys did and what you had to do, and this is, what is it? Mo money, mo problems, right? Like, you guys are in a different stage of business now, where you had to you took the time to step back and say, okay, we're going to put on X amount of roofs, X thousand amount of roofs this year.
Right.
And so how are we going to position ourselves in that way? Those are high level problems, but those are difficult. It's more difficult for the $2 million a year guy to do. What advice could you give that person or when do you have the ability to start, thinking about those things?
At 2 million, you aren't really thinking about those types of things. You're thinking about selling the next roof and sell. But I think the best thing you can do at that point is get your orders into your supply house as fast as possible to lock in the prices, because, we're getting price increases every, so fast. And so if you have a job, or you're getting, of a job, get that in there as soon as possible. Lock in your supply, your prices to the supply house, because, just to buy, 10 semis of shingles. You're talking about warehouses, you're talking about fencing, you're talking about video surveillance, you're talking about a lot of things, trucks, logistics. That's a whole nother thing. And so to step it back, to be able to still lock in your prices, get your orders in. That's why I tell the guys, get your orders in, get them fast, because they're bumping up 7 to 10% at a time. So when you're at 2 million, that's a lot of money to be able to save. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. I like to ask this question of every successful contractor, and that is, you've been through it now. Like, it's been, you've been through it from a lot of angles, and you've found this, a great amount of success. What is the greatest insight that you could share with our audience that you feel has helped you find success in your roofing business?
Taking care of your homeowners first. You got to get back to the basics, and it's doing one roof at a time and taking care of that homeowner and making them happy. Taking care of that homeowner and making them happy. When they call, answer the phone. If there's a problem, be right there to fix it as soon as possible. Don't avoid it. The longer you avoid it, the bigger that problem is going to get. Take it on the chin and show up and be there and address it for them immediately. That's the best advice that I have for all contractors, however big or small you are. That's the best thing.
Awesome, man. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. If you would like to generate more sales through your digital marketing efforts, please visit roofermarketers.com and get a copy of the book, Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors: How to Triple Your Sales and Turn Your Roofing Website into an Online Lead Generation Machine. Also, check the training section of the website for guides on everything from running effective pay-per-click ads to how to properly set up your Google My Business listing. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. Thanks for listening.